20 years to the day since the 7/7 London suicide bombings that killed 52 people, the King leads the nation in remembering the lives lost and calls for a spirit of unity.
Also tonight on the 20th anniversary, remembering the 52 people who died in the suicide attacks on London's transport system on July the 7th, 2005. 20 years ago today, 4 explosive devices were detonated in suicide attacks across the London transport network, killing 52 people and injuring hundreds more. 3 devices went off on the Underground near Aldgate, Edgware Road and Russell Square, and a 4th exploded on a double-decker bus in Tavistock Square. Today, a special service was held at St Paul's Cathedral to remember the victims. Mark Easton reports.
King's Cross, Russell Square.
White petals falling from the whispering gallery of St Paul's Cathedral as the names of the 52 killed in the 7/7 attacks were read out.
James Mays.
20 years on, and the shockwave from the bombs was still being felt by Saba Edwards, whose mother lost her life that summer's morning.
Behrnaz Mazaka.
St Paul's Cathedral, symbol of British resilience, brought together many of those whose lives were forever changed by 7/7.
Ladies and gents, we need to clear now Russell Square.
4 suicide bombers detonated devices on the capital's transport network. 3 almost simultaneously on tube trains beneath King's Cross, Liverpool Street and Edgware Road at rush hour. A 4th bomb exploded an hour later on a bus. 52 people were killed in the attacks, nearly 800 injured.
Many people will remember exactly where they were when news of the attacks first broke. I was here at King's Cross Station on my way to work at the BBC, and I saw passengers emerging from the Underground, their faces black with soot, clearly traumatised. And then I heard a loud bang from a few streets away. I didn't know it, but that was another bomb on a bus in Tavistock Square. London was under attack.
The fact that 3 of the bombers had been born and raised within British Muslim communities prompted urgent debates about radicalisation, integration and multiculturalism. There were fears 7/7 might tear the UK's diverse social fabric. But as Britain today reflected on the impact of the bombers' crimes, a constant theme was how the attacks had brought the country together.
People risked their lives to save my life. And it was holding my broken body with unconditional love. You know, that's extraordinary. This is humanity, and I'm the living proof of what happens when humanity comes together.
This afternoon, the Prince of Wales attended the 7/7 memorial in Hyde Park, accompanied by survivor Thelma Stober.
Terrorism will never, never succeed to divide us or break us as a community and as a country.
The 7th of July 2005 was a dark day in Britain's history. But it shone a light on this nation's strengths, courage, fortitude, tolerance. Mark Easton, BBC News.
Good afternoon. The King's called on the nation to remember the extraordinary courage and compassion in the face of the horrors of the July 7th bombings. Today marks 20 years since the terror attacks targeting London's transport network during rush hour. Earlier, the Prime Minister joined relatives at a service to remember the 52 people killed. At St Paul's Cathedral, the names of the victims are read out as 52,000 petals were dropped from the ceiling, as Martha Fairley reports.
King's Cross, Russell Square. James Adams. Samantha Badham.
As the names of the 52 victims of the 7/7 bombings were read out, white petals fell from the dome of St Paul's Cathedral. An emotional act of remembrance to mark the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks that changed so many lives.
We pray for all who died in the London bombings 20 years ago, for those taken suddenly, for those who died of injuries in the days that followed, and for all whose absence is still deeply felt.
Azuma Wundoa's mother Gladys was on the number 30 bus that morning. She was killed in the Tavistock Square bombing.
A day like this, I really do consider like what I've lost. You know, I've got a 5-year-old, what he doesn't have in a grandmother, kind of what I don't have in a mother or a friend. As you become an adult, your parents become more like your friends and they do like your parents. So I'm really missing that.
In a coordinated attack, the first of the 4 bombs were detonated on the London Underground at 8:49 on July the 7th, 2005, striking just after the peak of the rush hour. At 8:49 this morning, the Prime Minister and Mayor of London laid the first wreaths in a ceremony at the 7/7 Memorial in Hyde Park. Similar commemorations took place across the capital to remember the more than 770 people who were injured and 52 people killed in the bombings that left a permanent scar on London and the nation. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
And for a special programme, Remembering 7/7, we have brought together 3 people affected by the attacks. You can watch that on ITVX or search 77 ITV News on YouTube.